So Jakarta's dating scene, right, always keeps you on your toes. And lately there's this term, like, everywhere you turn, especially online, love bombing. Ever feel like you're suddenly in this, like, crazy romantic movie, but then things get kind of weird?
It's wild, right? How fast love bombing went from like kind of niche to everyone's talking about it.
Totally. Which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We've got Rebecca Gulo's 2024 thesis, Gambaran Love Bombing to Jakarta. She actually went and, like, surveyed people right here in Jakarta about this.
Yeah, having that local perspective is huge here.
Yeah.
We're not just talking like love bombing in theory, but how it's going down in Jakarta with all the city's own, dating vibes.
Exactly. So, okay, diving into this thesis, Rebecca, she defines love bombing as this wave of, like, super intense attention, affection, but all really early on. Sounds amazing, right? Except,
There's a catch, always.
big time, it's not actually coming from, like, a real place, It's more about
Yeah.
control, and spotting it, tough. Until it's too late, sometimes.
Exactly. Picture this, you've had like, what, 2-3 dates with someone? Max. Suddenly, boom, expensive gifts, weekend trip to Bali, you're meeting their entire family, and they're all like, this is the one, my soulmate.
Intense, yeah.
Okay, even if those are nice things on their own, that is a lot. Fast forward.
Right. At first it's flattering, exciting even. But love bombing, it's all about keeping things surface level. And as Rebecca found, this is where it gets tricky, especially for younger people in Jakarta.
Because they're more used to like instant gratification, social media's highlight reel, all that.
Exactly. Rebecca found Gen Z in Jakarta. They get love bombing. They see it all the time, online, offline. But here's the thing. Some actually prefer it.
Prefer it. To what?
Think about it. Jakarta's fast-paced, right? Relationships, too. Some young people, they'd rather have someone who's, like, all over them with attention, even if it's about control in the end, than, I don't know, risk being in a relationship where they feel ignored or alone.
Like choosing the devil you know, kinda. So how do you tell the difference? Genuine affection versus these like manipulative moves. $1 million question. This is where it gets interesting. One of the biggest things is the speed, the intensity, like we said. Rebecca, in her thesis, she highlights this as a major red flag, especially in Jakarta. Love bombing, it's like hitting the gas pedal on the first date and never letting up. Real relationships, they take time to grow.
So if you're swept off your feet, first date, red flag.
Could be.
Mm.
But let's dig into some more of those red flags, yeah.
Yeah.
Give you a clearer picture. Another big one is how someone acts when you try to set boundaries. Something else Rebecca found was pretty common here in Jakarta.
So someone's showering you with gifts, attention, all that, but then, like, freaks out when you need some space. That's a red flag in Jakarta dating.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget, healthy relationships, it's all about, mutual respect, understanding. That includes giving each other space when you need it, those boundaries. And Rebecca found in Jakarta, that can be tough. The city's so vibrant, there's this expectation to be on all the time.
If they're always pushing to meet up, even when you're like, need a me day, that's a bad sign.
Especially with those other red flags, yeah. Think about it, someone who's really into you, they'll get it. You need space? No problem. Love bombing, though. It's about control.
Yeah.
Making you dependent on their attention. And that makes setting boundaries, well, way harder, especially in Jakarta, where everything moves so fast.
Messes with your head, right? If you don't even realize it's happening. Rebecca mentions self-esteem being tied into this, didn't she?
She did. She looked at some research by, let's see if I can get this right, Strutzenberg, Wiersma Mosley, the whole crew, and they found this link between low self-esteem and basically being more vulnerable to love bombing.
Makes sense if you're already feeling insecure, all those grand gestures, the constant validation that feeds into it.
Totally. And on the flip side, some people who love bomb, they might be insecure themselves. Or they need that control. So they create this like instant intimacy, makes the other person dependent.
Yeah.
Which, messes with their well-being. It's a whole thing.
Two sides to every coin. And getting out of that situation, if you're surrounded by it, if it's like normal, even glamorized, must be so hard.
Exactly what Rebecca found about Jakarta, yeah. The whole social scene can make people feel like they got to present this image, online, offline, perfect relationship, all that.
Yeah.
And that. Breeding ground for love bombing, because it plays on those insecurities that need to be validated.
Wow. Okay, so we've talked signs, red flags, the why.
Right.
What can someone DO if they think this is happening to them? Like practical steps.
First things first, trust your gut. Something feels wrong. It probably is. Don't ignore it.
Even if you can't explain it, that like uneasy feeling, that's a sign.
Big time. And Rebecca's research, it's got some gold here, especially for Jakarta. She found that a lot of people, looking back on their love bombing experience, wished they'd trusted that gut feeling sooner. ignored red flags, brushed off that discomfort because they didn't want to cause a fuss, seem ungrateful.
That pressure to be nice, right? Not rock the boat. Some cultures, it's huge.
Exactly. But you have got to remember you deserve to feel safe, respected in any relationship. Something's off. You have every right to say something.
How, though? Like, if you're being love bombed, how do you even start that conversation? It's tricky.
It is, yeah. It's like, I don't know, navigating Jakarta traffic, almost. Got to be careful. Ready for anything.
But, starting point. Acknowledge how you feel.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed, pressured, like you're losing yourself a bit in the relationship. Those are signs.
Okay, so you've done that. You know how you feel.
Yeah.
Then what? How do you tell the other person? Okay, so you're feeling like overwhelmed, kind of pressured, and you want to talk to them about it. But how? Especially in Jakarta, where, being direct isn't always easy.
You're right. It's tough. Having a plan helps, though. Rebecca talks about this in her thesis. Clear communication, it's key. Maybe start by saying, like, hey, I really appreciate you wanting to spend so much time together, and the gifts are amazing, but, you got to be upfront about how it's making you feel.
So acknowledge the effort, but set those boundaries.
Exactly. You could even say, I need a bit of space to, like, recharge, do my own things sometimes. It's about what you need while still saying, hey, I see what you're doing, and I appreciate the thought. And if they get defensive, like if setting boundaries means drama.
That's when it gets really tough. But also, when it's super important to hold your ground, don't forget you have the right to set boundaries. Someone who really cares, they'll respect that. Might take them a minute to adjust, but...
Easier said than done, though, right? Especially when it's new, everything's exciting. Those boundaries can feel kind of blurry.
Totally. And here's where Rebecca's research, it's got your back, especially for Jakarta. She found that having, like, a good support system,
Yeah.
huge. Talk to friends, family you trust, tell them what's up, get their take on things.
Because they can be more objective, right? Remind you what's what if you're starting to doubt yourself.
Exactly. And if it's too much, if you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out to, like, a therapist. They can help you figure out all this complicated stuff and put your own well-being first.
That's so important. You deserve to be with someone who respects you, values you, not just, like, showers you with stuff.
100%. At the end of the day, understanding this whole love bombing thing, knowing the signs, having the guts to set boundaries, those are your superpowers, especially in Jakarta. For any relationship, really, to make it healthy, make it real.
That's such a good point. So much good stuff here. Any last thoughts for our listeners today?
You know what's interesting to me? In this world of, like, instant everything, social media, is love bombing more common now, or are we just, like, more aware of it? Makes you think. But no matter what, knowing your stuff, putting yourself first emotionally, that's the real win.
Love that. Knowledge is power, right? Especially in dating. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. Hopefully everyone listening, this gives you something to think about, some tools to, navigate Jakarta dating with confidence. Until next time, everyone.